As my friend Misty says, sit back, relax, and enjoy. This video is going to be long because we're talking about my October goals and I'm spilling the tea on all things Halloween costume, my award-winning Halloween costume. We'll get to that in the video. It's going to be a long one. We're talking about my inspiration, my materials, and my process, my favorite parts, my least favorite parts, and maybe what's next. I'm not sure. Okay, let's dig in. It's gonna be a lot. So October, I had two goals really. I had goal number one, the steps challenge. Every month I have a goal to get 370,000 steps, and then to finish my costume and to go to Witches Night in Kimmswick. That was pretty. First, the costume. My inspiration. My inspiration for the Halloween costume, I had these grandiose ideas. Back in March, I went on a cruise and I ran into some performers out on the boardwalk or whatever in Cozumel. And I really wanted to base my costume off of something like that. I wanted this big, dramatic headpiece, and I wanted it to be tribal, and I just thought it would be really, really awesome. And I wanted to do some cool, like, leg things, and that was my goal. Well, feathers are expensive. Feathers are very, very expensive. And I am on an extremely tight budget right now. Extremely tight budget. No money whatsoever. So I was cleaning things out and I actually don't recall the moment when I decided, but I ran across the comforter or I thought about the comforter. I don't remember. I don't remember. I hate that about myself. But the comforter became the costume. It was all about recycled goods. How can I make a costume for cheap? And I thought about that comforter. I thought, oh my gosh, this is perfect. It is going to make the best costume. And I think it did. I am so proud of my creation. It I just can't say. I don't know how to sew. I have a sewing machine, but I don't know how to sew. So all of it was make it up as you go. Make it up as you go. Yay! It was fun. Somewhere in my scrolling, I saw this voodoo something or another, and I thought that's pretty cool, but I didn't want to go the whole voodoo route because I really didn't want to wear all that makeup on my face because nothing sounds more terrible than having all that makeup on my. So somewhere I had the voodoo thing in my head. And that is where the half skirt ish thing, what do you even call it? Is it just a half skirt? I don't know. Is there an official word for it? That's where that came in. So the making of the skirt. So I go online to make the skirt and I'm just looking up some different patterns, some different techniques, some different whatever. And I decide that I want to do this like full circle skirt because I want it to spin because I'm a girl and I like to spin and spinning is fun. My poi balls and in the skirts. I just wanted it to be big and floofy. So full circle skirt is what I'm thinking. So I get the pattern for a full circle skirt. I get this measurements and everything. I'm measuring it. I watched like 3 or 4 different videos, 5, 6, 9, so many videos on how to cut out a circle skirt based on the amount of material that I had. I had a limited amount of material, so because of that, that is whenever the 2 section came in. So there was the top section and then there's the bottom section of the skirt. Once I determined that I needed a whole bunch of material, I was really worried about being able to do all the details that I wanted to do. So I went with the sheet for the rest of the skirt. Well, I'm telling you, this skirt was just a process of trial and error. That's all it was. It was trial and error. You do, you undo, and then you redo until you get kind of what you want, maybe sort of. Um, nothing was, nothing turned out exactly like I had it in my mind. Nothing. Once I had got this all the sheet done, then I'm putting on the bottom part, and well, I didn't have one continuous section, so then I had to somehow put it together right here at this seam right here. There's a seam. It just the seam. Oh my gosh, it's just terrible. It's poorly made. Like, look at this. This is some terrible sewing right here. Can you see this? I didn't even like tuck it under like the rest of the pieces. It's just, it's so, it passes as a costume. It's not going to pass as like a sellable garment or, couture wear or anything like that. Totally winging it. Um, because I really wanted these front pieces. This was very important to me. I really wanted this front piece to have these placards. Terrible with words. Oh my gosh. Mm. Terrible with words. Okay, so that was pretty much the skirt. Where I went wrong, this is a big mistake. There are these pleats. So, see the pleat in there? It's like pleated. I did not want it to be all bunchy. I wanted it more kind of straight and then to billow. So I did these pleats, and I don't know if it would have been better if I would have done the pleats in the reverse of what I did, or if this was the right way to go. I saw something about the pleats, and then I decided I wanted pleats in it, and I don't know if that would turn out to be a good thing or a bad thing, but I really wanted them at the time whenever I was sewing, so I put them in. Pleats means a bigger circumference. Pleats means more material. So that is really what got me on that. Another thing on the skirt, once I had to do the two portion section, what I really wanted to do was kind of like this section right here. You see how these this comes up. I kind of wanted to keep these, I wanted to cut them out, and then I wanted to embroider around them and have them kind of blend into the skirt a little bit instead of just being like a straight across line like this. I wanted them to be more edged. I don't know how to use my sewing machine as an embroidery machine. Also, sewing the edges like this material is the worst. The worst. See how it, um, I hope that does it, because I'm not going to play this back. It frays. It frays. It makes a mess. It sheds quickly everywhere. So for me to be able to do the embroidery around there, I would have had to deal with all those little bits and pieces. And I'm pretty sure those bits and pieces are what has jammed up my sewing machine, and I got to get it fixed. And I don't know what's wrong with it, because I want to sew something else, but I don't know if I'll be able to because I broke my sewing machine sewing this. So anyway, I decided that embroidery thing, that is not going to happen. Not going to happen. But I thought it would have looked really, really cool. The waistband, moving on to the waistband. The waistband is absolutely my favoriteest part. So the waistband has these nice little belt loopy things for me to hang things off of. So I could hang my purse off of there. I could hang my poi balls off of there. I could hang whatever I wanted off these little loops. So there's the two loops in the front, and then there's also two loops in the back. But this was made, what I did was I had some interfacing from a project I did many years ago. So I put the interfacing in, and that made it a little bit thicker and sturdier. originally I had this belt, and so I had measured this belt to go through this, and I was just going to use this belt as the belt. Well, the comforter that I took apart in order to make this wonderful costume had this rope. And I was like, how am I going to use that rope? I got to use the rope as a component. I wanted to use the rope as a component. I made this necklace. And then I also, instead of using the belt, I took an old elastic stretchy belt that I had. I cut it, and then I glued it. And then I glued that rope onto the belt. You can see all the hot glue on there. You can see it all. The thing with this stretchy belt was it stretched. So I got to wear my costume not one time. I wore it for Witches Night. I wore it again to go to my little photo shoot thing that I did. And then I wore it to 9 Mile Garden they were doing like a movie night in a pop-up market. I wore it for that. We'll get to that. I wore it another night for this event, and then I wore it to the office for Halloween. So I wore it 5 times. So it was well worth my time and effort to make this costume. It wasn't for a 2-hour event. Witches Night alone is like 8 hours. So I must have spent at least 24 hours in my costume, but I probably put in like 70 hours in the costume. Doesn't matter. Still worth it. Anyways, back to the belt. The belt just attaches like so, but it would stretch. And by the end of probably the second time I wore it, actually by the end of the first time, this belt wanted to keep popping open, and didn't want to stay on. Another thing, this skirt weighs a ton. How much does this skirt weigh? I forgot to weigh it. I wanted to weigh it. I'll be right back. Well, it doesn't weigh a ton. It only weighs 1.5 pounds. It feels like a ton. Feels like a ton. Very heavy. So I really loved the way that the rings turned out. They were very useful and helpful. On to the next part. The bustle. I just felt like it needed a little oomph, a little something, a little pizzazz. And this was maddening. This little trim here is made of mini sections of fabric that were like this big that I had to fold into quarters and iron in order to make my own bias tape, and then sew on. So it was a lot of ironing and folding and then sewing, and it just goes on and on because it's a double layer. And then the attaching it up here part was kind of easy. I just randomly gathered it and sewed it and put it inside the waist of the belt. Then I always knew that I wanted lights as part of the costume. For Witches Night, it turns dark, and I thought, what better than an illuminated costume? I always knew I was going to put lights in it. So I went to put the lights in it, and then I'm like, oh man, what am I going to do with these cords or whatever? I didn't want them showing on the outside. So then I had to cut this like hole down the middle in the back here to put the lights through, and then a lot of times they wound up like hanging out the back of my skirt, or they would get It was a thing. I ran out of time. This is one of my another mistake that I made. So how many mistakes is that I've made? I made a trillion mistakes. I couldn't even count them all. So I put the lights in. I didn't have really enough time to properly attach them. So I used fabric tape, like a fashion tape that you would use to like keep your shirt from gapping open or whatnot. I used that and just kind of taped it in there really quick whenever it came to Witches Night. Later, I did go back and sew it back in, but the fashion tape didn't work 100%. So that is pretty much all the ins and outs of the skirt. I did, oh, wait, no, it's not. Somewhere, oh, here it is. I've since taken the lights out because none of them work anymore. None of the lights work anymore. So in here, I have, that's nothing. These are some earrings that I got for 99 cents at a costume store. So these ones, not this white one, this is a different set. These lights, these are just copper wire fairy lights. I got some with one of my macrame hangings, and then I have another. I got these. I don't remember. It was like $6 for like 12 of them. They were like super duper cheap. They worked quite nicely, but something happened, and now they don't work. And I don't know if it's because the batteries are dead or the malfunctioned. I don't know, but they were sewn in, and now they're out. Then I found this was another set of fiber optic lights that I got at the Halloween store. When I went to get my husband's Halloween costume, he went as Negan from The Walking Dead. It was 99 cents for this fiber optic light, and it worked for half a day. It was great. Probably if I didn't put this in the skirt, the fairy lights probably would still work. I don't know. But that was the lights. The lights. I told you, sit back, relax, and enjoy. I'm going to talk forever, forever, and ever and ever. Oh, my dear friend, my shirt. My dear friend, my shirt. My shirt. I always knew I wanted some kind of vesty. St. Louis weather, you never know what you're going to get. It's either going to be cold or it's going to be screeching hot. You don't know. So you have to kind of plan accordingly so that you'll be comfortable. I was so hot. I'm miserably hot. Miserably hot. Because of all of this. It's a blanket. It's a blanket. This was fashioned off of the original design because this is not the original design. The original design was I had a vest in my closet and I thought, oh, this fits pretty well. I can kind of make a pattern off of the vest. Made the whole pattern, made the shirt, liked it. It was cool. I really liked it. And then up until I didn't anymore. I think the problem was whenever I put on this decoration belt issue thing, that's whenever I ran into problems. So it's actually, you can't see it because of the sleeves, but I did it. It's like under the arm and then it goes around the waist. But what happened was of, I ran out of it. And then I did this thing on the side that looks a mess. And that happened. I didn't realize this was flapping off. Okay. Anyway, so it wasn't sitting right. So this was modified. It did originally go all the way down, but then I decided to kind of make it go that way. And this, quickly on, I decided that I wanted this to fold down and do this whole thing. So the whole thing was double lined. it was lined. The whole thing was lined with the sheet material, so it's thicker. But I didn't have enough interfusing to stiffen it, and I think that was the mistake that I made. I would have put interfacing in it. It also would have helped with this edge to keep it straighter if I would have done that, and this edge as well. But I just thought it was so cute. I just really liked it a lot. And then the back, I cut out a portion, and then I hand did all of this with embroidery floss to kind of make it stand out. And then because I ditched the original one, I just kind of put it on this tank top and hoping that it would make it a little bit more fitted because it wasn't fitted enough for my liking. So the shirt was done back in September, and it was like a week before whenever, or 2 weeks before when I decided to completely redo it. It was going to be like 100 degrees. So my original thought was to wear like a shirt like this or something underneath it, something long sleeve, something whatever. I don't know. Well, then it's going to be 90 degrees. Okay, so I've got to wear the tank top. If you've been around on my channel, you know that I don't like my arms. They're a sore spot. So I wanted some kind of sleeves. Well, me, the person I am, of course, I wanted something poofy and fluffy and whatnot. So I'm going to... So what I did was up here, I have up here, I have some. This is from an old costume that I had once upon a time. It was a Medusa costume. And if I have a picture of it, I'll show it to you. But this was from an old Medusa costume. So I pulled that up and I kind of repurposed that for the inside of the sleeves to kind of help bustle them out. I'm at a work meeting. In between dinner and the meeting, sewing on these sleeves because I've got to get it done. It's like the Thursday before, and I'm trying to get those done. I don't think I finished them until that morning. I was of the morning up. Nope, the night before. It was the night before that I finished putting on the sleeves for the costume. We're almost through. We're almost done. So just some odds and ends are left. I had my purse. I'll show it to you. It's in one of the pictures, but I had my purse and I've already taken it off, but I had cut out one of the designs from the shirt, one of these, and I put it on my little purse and glued it on there so that it would look kind of like all cohesive and stuff. This is part of the original plan. Well, was it the original? I don't know. These boots. I've had these boots, these thick knee-high boots forever, but I can't wear them. I can't walk in them. My foot slides and they hurt and it's terrible. So I cut them up and I took this old pair of loafers and I kind of glued it on there. And then I glued this on the inside of the boot so that they kind of got this like pirate look. But these would have been really, really comfortable to wear. So I just kind of cut them up. My husband was like, you can't do that because you're going to lose all the integrity of the boot. But I didn't. It's still pretty darn good. Halfway through making one boot, that's when I learned about the weather. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to wear boots because it's going to be way too hot. So then, and I was going to do this whole witch's shoe thing and put it on there. This did fit until I learned that it was going to be 100 degrees. Once I learned that it was going to be 100 degrees, then I decided that, I've got to ditch that. I'm going to wear sandals. So I was going to do this whole like witch's sandal thing. I probably spent 3 hours messing around with this stupid thing and then decided that, you know what, it's probably going to fall off like 2 hours in or something. And I decided not to do it. But I did try to make some witch's shoes. So these flowers came from the Dollar Tree. And I used those for my hat. My hat. My friend told me at the last, she was like, Thursday, when I was putting on the sleeves, she was like, you need a headpiece of some sort. And she got in my head all about it. And I was like, fine. I really didn't want to wear a headpiece. I'll make a hat. So I got up and I went to the internet and how to make a hat. So you take some cardboard and you cut it out into a circle, and then you put another cardboard into a piece of a cone, and voila, you got a hat. I didn't measure my head very well. This hat does not fit me very good at all. Also, my cone didn't turn out to be a cone. Well, I didn't want a pointy hat. I wanted a floppy hat, but I wanted it to stand up a little bit in the front. So it's a half cone. And then I just kind of made it fall over. And now it's falling to pieces. Do you see that little flippy part there? Yeah. And then you can see the inside of the hat if you flip it over like this. Well constructed. Well constructed. It has also been dropped like 1,000 times. I've dropped it so many times. Anytime I would bend over to do something, the hat would fall off my head. So that didn't help. But then I had these feathers that I wore last year to Witch's Night that I kind of put on there. And then the rope from the comforter. And I really like the back of it. And I loved the side look before it started falling apart. I lost one of my flowers. Really cute. I mean, I like it. Kind of sassy. That's the hat. I had no idea what I was doing. I just winged it the whole way through. Also, my poi balls. So I wanted these because, again, they light up. And so they were part of the costume. And just have them like, they're my magic. I'm a witch, right? They're my magic. I didn't want them white. So what I did was I took a pair of knee-high socks and I used Mod Podge and I Mod Podged them on there so that they would stay on. And then they've got this little tassel-y bit, I guess I'm going to call it, on it. This is paracord. So we're safe. If you ever need paracord, got some paracord. And this one I just did some macrame on it with the bed sheet. But that was so, I don't know, just because. And then they could hang from the loops on my skirt, and they were cute. I liked them. They just added another element to the costume. The final piece that I lucked into on the day of Witch's Night, I get to my friend's house, and she had, and I'm very upset about this at the moment, she had a brooch. It was this cool spider brooch, and it was awesome, and it fit on my lapel so nicely, perfectly. It just was like the thing I needed. And I stuck it on there with some fashion tape. It lasted that whole day through my photo shoot, and then I lost it. So I lucked into this whole situation. I lucked into another thing. I'm looking on Instagram, and there was a post. Enter to win a 2 tickets to the selfie room for this killer selfie event. I'm like, okay, so I did all the rules that it said, you got to forward it, you got to put it on your story, whatever. Did all the rules. I didn't think anything of it. I never win anything. I won 2 tickets to go to this selfie room, selfie world, selfie room. I can't remember. There's 2 of them here in St. Louis, and I get them mixed up all the time. Sorry. Selfie place. Anyway, I've always wanted to go. It's on my list of things to do. Always wanted to go. And finally, I got my chance to go. So I won those tickets. It was so cool. And my husband's like laughing at me. He's like, you're going to make a mistake, blah, blah, blah. It's downtown. So then I get downtown and I'm kind of scared because you always got to watch your surroundings in St. Louis. It's not always the safest place. Got me freaked out. I'm nervous to park. Finally, I get in there and I'm by myself. I didn't have anybody to go with me. And I just feel so nervous. And I'm there and I wound up having a good time. I did not get very many good pictures of myself. I don't know why, because it was 100 degrees in that room and they didn't have the air conditioner on. So I had to keep going outside to cool off. Anyway, I didn't get many pictures. Here's some of the bad pictures that I got of myself while we were there, but they had a costume contest. I didn't win the Witch's Night costume contest. I did enter. It was like one of the first things I did so that I didn't lose the courage to enter, but I lost. Didn't even place. So then I go to this selfie thing and I surprisingly won. I think that people were just so excited about me hand making my costume. That's why I won because there was some really, really good costumes. Really good costumes.
Yard ball and get a big picture really quick with everybody here? Yeah, it's on. As soon as you say I won again. All right, we have our winner as.
But I won and I was so excited and it was so just rewarding. It was nice. Thank you very much for for awarding me for the prize. Thank you. I appreciate that so much. So then I wore the costume out to 9 Mile Garden. So 9 Mile Garden is this place where they do like food trucks and stuff. It's like an entertainment venue, and they've got like beer and stuff, and it's in like an outdoor, I don't know, place. I wore it there and was had my poi with me, and I got to play with some kids. They wanted to play poi, and that was fun. I really, really liked it, and I got a lot of compliments on the costume for that. And then I also wore it out. We went to the local bar down the street. They were having a Halloween costume contest. Well, those things are popularity events, and we don't go to that bar. We don't know those people, so I didn't win. And then work. Work has not, for 15 years, had wear your costume to work day. This year, work was like, yeah, everybody wear your costume. They didn't tell me that until after my costume was made. So it was just meant to be. So I wore it to work. It was a big hit at work as well. Oh, so sorry. At the selfie event is when I lost my brooch. So then I had to fashion a new brooch to wear for the following events because it needed a brooch. So I just took this one off of some piece of jewelry that I had laying around. It's not as cool as the one that I had previous. So be it. My favorite part is the skirt, for sure. That's my favorite part of the skirt. I also did my hair red for the event. Not that it really mattered. I wore the one last thing. I wore different pants every single time that I wore the costume. I wore it with shorts. I wore it with different pair of shorts with tights. I wore it with these pants that are hanging up over there. And then I wore it with another pair of yoga pants. So it was very interchangeable as far as that goes to help keep me cool. I mostly wore it with black boots, but then I also wore it with my burgundy boots because those were just more comfortable for Witch's Night. That was the whole reason I wore those for Witch's Night, because they were just more comfortable. I had so much fun doing the photo shoot at home at 7 o'clock in the morning. My husband's laughing at me again because I'm a nut. But yeah, I got up at 7 o'clock in the morning, painted my face, went out to do this photo shoot. It was fun. I had fun doing that, and I also had fun editing the video. But my favorite, each time that I went out, I did a different makeup look, and my favorite makeup look of all was the very last day to work. That was my favorite makeup look of all. But like I said, it was really just trial and error, lots of mistakes, and having fun along the way, and being open to things changing and not being focused that it has to be one specific way. If I wasn't flexible, then it would have been a whole disaster because nothing really went as I had planned. And speaking of things that didn't go as planned, the October Steps Challenge. That didn't go as planned as either. I tried. This Fitbit, it's Max Go. It's free from my health insurance. It's the worst. I told you guys it's the worst. The battery dies all the time. It doesn't warn me whenever the battery is going to die. So it died. Anyway, it came out to like I was going to need 20,000 steps a day towards the end of the month, and I was like, I'm just not going to do it. So I quit. Truly, I quit. There was just no way I was going to be able to get that many steps. I for a minute thought that I was going to try. So I had this great day out. We went out and I went to three different parks, all of the walking, all of the playing boy, all of the, and grocery shopping. I did it all. I had a great day out. It was so much fun. But I almost got like 19,000 steps that day. But it was not going to be enough steps. It was just going to be near impossible for me to get enough steps to win the steps challenge. So the costume was a hit. It's an award winning costume. And the steps challenge was a fail. Am I going to do something next? Well, I think I got the itch now to do something else, but I need to know what to make. What is next? What is next for me? Leave it in the comments. I want to hear your thoughts and ideas on things that I can make. Whatever it is, I know for a fact that it is going to be an adventure.